Great. So it's 10 to 11, more or less, already 10 to 11. So let's kick off session number 2, which is called ELG Open Calls and Pilot Projects. And in this session, we will now give the floor to the Prague team, Charles University, who are organizing the open calls and the pilot projects in ELG. After that, we will have 10 brief presentations, 5 minutes each, on the various ELG pilot projects. Okay, so Lukasz, the floor is yours. I think you are presenting, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. So Lukasz Kaczena, Charles University.
Thank you, Georg. Good morning, everyone from Charles University in Prague. I'm glad I have the opportunity to give you a brief overview of our open calls. We can move to the first slide, and I would like to tell you more about how it all started. Actually, already during the preparation of the European Language Grid project, we decided that it will be good to demonstrate the usefulness of the ELG as a technology platform by running pilot projects. And we wanted these pilot projects to focus on either contributing resources, services, tools, or data sets to ELG, or by developing their own applications using language resources and technologies available in the ELG. And for that, this next slide, we allocated almost €2 million, and for distributing this amount of money, we were obliged to use financial support to third parties mechanism, which is used by many Horizon 2020 projects. And you can actually check all competitive calls and calls for third parties on EU funding and opportunities portal. We set the key parameters for the open calls, and these are that the pilot projects can last from 9 to 12 months. We allowed only one organization per project, so no collaboration within the project, and SMEs and research organizations are eligible. We organized 2 open calls, and we aimed at lightweight procedure and short proposals, maximum 10 pages. And this is also one of the reasons or factors why the open calls were so popular and why we got so many project proposals. We use 3 independent evaluators to evaluate each project, and the final selection of the projects is made by pilot boards, which is consisting of ELG consortium members. We use our own in-house developed open calls submission platform for the open calls. And on the next slide, you can see our evaluation criteria. They kind of demonstrate what is important to us. We have 5 key evaluation criteria. The first one is objective fit, and here we assess how the project goals are in line with the goals of ELG. Of course, the technical approach is also important to us, as well as the business integration and dissemination plan. By that, we mean that we want to know what is the applicant's vision, what they want to achieve, what is the desired impact of the project, and what are its benefits, as well as we want to know and evaluate how the projects are going to integrate the results of the project into ELG, and how they are going to disseminate and promote the project results. The last 2 evaluation criteria are budget adequacy and the team, and I guess I don't have to explain these. And after the projects are selected, when it comes to project execution, there are 3 phases after the open call. The key one is the experiment phase. After we go into the integration and dissemination phases. As you can see on the next slide on the timeline, the first open call ended its submission period in April 2020, or actually still this year. And after evaluation period, we signed contracts with 10 selected projects this summer. And all these 10 projects are now in their experiment phase, and they all should finish by July 2021. For the second open call, we are now just starting evaluation of the project proposals because the submission period ended yesterday at midnight. And we would like to announce the results of this second and last open call by mid-February, so that the projects can start in March next year and finish by March 2022. In the first open call, we had a huge amount of 110 proposals that were accepted for evaluation from 29 countries, including countries outside the EU, like Iceland, Israel, Norway, Serbia, and also South Africa, and of course, UK. We are very happy to see that a lot of SMEs are interested by this call. It was 62 SMEs that applied with their project proposal. And at the end, as I said, 10 projects were selected. We were very happy to see such an interest in ELG. At the same time, so of course, it was quite a challenge for us to evaluate all the project proposals in time and desired quality. But it proved that ELG is an attractive platform to be involved in. And I'll talk about it again when I talk about the second open call. If we can go to the next slide, you'll see the list of the selected projects. They will have their slots to have the opportunity to introduce themselves right after my presentation. If we click, Georg, you can see that we have kind of divided, or we can see three or three groups of projects. 5 projects aim to contribute language resources or tools to ELG. 3 projects will interconnect their technologies with ELG, and 2 projects bring speech-oriented applications. On the next slide, you already can see the numbers for the second open call. As I said, the submission period ended yesterday. So the numbers are similar to the first open call. We've got 106 proposals submitted from 28 countries, including countries like Israel, Turkey, and Iran. Again, we have more SMEs attracted by the call, 61 SMEs, and the focus is on contributing resources, services, tools, or data sets to the ELG. But we can see that the number for the B type of projects, how we call it, the proposals for language technology applications, has increased. That's basically it for the second open call. After the first open call, we conducted a survey among the applicants. And here I want to show you more some of the interesting results. Who actually is attracted by ELG, who are the proposers or applicants. One of the questions asked about the reasons for taking part in the ELG open call. And as you can see, most projects wanted to contribute their services or resources to ELG and make them available to the ELG community. The majority of projects also aim at further development of their products, and logically, some projects wanted to get money, the funding, or to gain visibility. On the next slide, there is another question and answers. What are the main expectations towards the ELG platform? It is getting access to large repository of services and data sets, strengthening the language technology community, but also increasing visibility of the participants, or getting additional sales channel for commercial services. Next one, you can see that most applicants do not or did not specialize in particular domain. Those most frequently mentioned domains were the health, legal, media, and mobility domains. And to conclude, my last slide is regarding the specialization in language technologies. You can see that most applicants specialize in text analysis, machine translation, speech recognition, and natural language processing. So that's briefly it from me about the open calls. We are already looking forward to analyzing and evaluating the project proposals in the second open call. I thank you for your attention for now. And I would like to pass the floor to individual pilot projects that were selected in the first open call and that are already running. And as you might have noticed in the program, there are 10 of them, and they each will have 5 minutes. And we will start with, we will go to Italy, to Fondazione Bruno Kessler. They have their project, the European Clinical Case Corpus. The floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you very much, Lucas. My name is Bernardo Magnini. I'm going to present the pilot project called the European Clinical Case Corpus. The project is coordinated by FBK, Fondazione Bruno Kessler in Trento, Italy, and it involves people from the natural language group in our institution. Specifically, the people involved are myself, Begonia Altuna, Alberto Ravelli, Manuela Speranza, and Roberto Zanoli. The project, the European Clinical Case Corpus project, started beginning of July this year, and it will run for 1 year. We have been assigned as a project coach from ELG, Khalid Shukri, who we thank already for the nice interaction up to now. So the aim of the project is to collect and annotate a multilingual corpus of clinical narratives with the ambition to become a reference European resource in this field. Just to be clear, a clinical narrative is a short text stating a clinical practice for a certain patient, presenting the reason for a clinical visit, the description of physical exams, and the assessment of the patient's situations. We focus on published clinical narratives because they are very often de-identified, overcoming privacy issues, and they are very rich in clinical entities as well as temporal information. We mainly deal with 2 types of clinical cases. Clinical cases published in journals and conferences. Most of them are available through the PubMed repository, and clinical cases from medical training resources. We aim to build a 5-language, Italian, English, Spanish, French, and Basque clinical narrative corpus, which in our intention will allow linguistic analysis, benchmarking, and also training of information extraction systems. The project will build upon available resources distributed under open access licenses, and will collect new data when necessary. The goal of the project is to harmonize the current annotations, introduce new annotation layers, and provide baselines for information extraction tasks. And of course, at the end of the project, our resource will be integrated into the ELG platform. As we can see in this slide, we foresee 3 kind of annotations. Clinical entities, basically pathologies, symptoms, procedures, body parts, and those annotations will be according to standard clinical taxonomies. Particularly, we are focusing on ICD-10 and SNOMED. The second kind of annotation is about temporal information, like events, time expressions, and temporal relations. In this case, we are going to use and extend the time standard and the time which is based on time-ml. The third level of annotation is about factuality. Basically, we focus on factuality's values and assessment of the effect of negation, uncertainty, and age expressions. We expect that annotating clinical cases on this 3 level, we will improve the capacity of automatically of systems to automatically reconstruct chronologies, all the facts described in a clinical case. Can we move to the next slide? Thank you. As I mentioned, we started in July, and we have already results of the projects, which include a document describing the annotation guidelines for the 3 levels which I've been mentioning. We have an initial version of the data collected. Basically, we have around 13,000 clinical cases in the 5 languages already collected. And we are planning to have a first release of the data in January, beginning of January, under a Creative Commons by attribution non-commercial license. And finally, we have a first publication of the project, which will be presented at the next conference, at the next Italian conference on computational linguistics in spring, March 2021. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bernardo, for your presentation. And now we can virtually travel to Finland, to Linksoft.
Thank you, Lukas. And yes, my name is Mikael Stormbom, and I work for Linksoft. You can go to the first slide there. Thank you. And we're a language service and language technology provider. So we work both with language services, namely translations, transcriptions, subtitling, and also with language technology development, both for text and speech. We were founded in 1986, so we've been around a while. And we work both with proprietary technologies as well as open source solutions, and through collaborations with many universities throughout the Nordics. If you move to the next slide. So in this project, and we're very excited to be doing this project with the ELG, we will be providing our solutions through the ELG platform. And just a quick overview here of what our solutions entail. So we have them divided into 3 families, so to speak. So we have the text analysis side, which includes lemmatization, POS tagging, named entity recognition, ontological analysis, and then also spelling and grammar. Speech recognition solutions geared towards both transcription and subtitling, as well as then diarization, so identification of speakers. And on the machine translation side, we work primarily with integration in translation workflows and in professional translation tools. We work primarily with the Nordic languages, so Finnish, Swedish, Danish, Norwegian, and then to some extent English and German. If you move on to the next slide. So in this project, which we started in August, we are working towards making our solutions available through the ELG platform, and particularly to those customers who have needs for the Nordic languages. And we are then integrating towards the ELG the APIs. We are working on refactoring our solutions so that they are compatible and conform with the APIs, and with also special considerations also for scalability and license management. And they will be available both on commercial terms and also for non-commercial use. And well, that's pretty much what the project is in a nutshell. So I'll hand over at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mikael. We can move on to Germany and to the company called Coreon.
Hi, Lukas. Good morning. Can you hear me well? Yep, you can hear. So please click on next slide. Yeah. So just a little word about what is Coreon. We are a Berlin-based software company developing solutions for multilingual knowledge systems. Multilingual knowledge systems is what we call a fusion of knowledge graph technology together with multilingual terminology. This is an established software for quite some years. And what are we doing here in the ELG pilots? We are developing a Sparkle interface on top of our solution so that users can access the data that is stored in our repositories via the Sparkle protocol, which is the established query language in the semantic web, with the goal to expose Corion repositories with the methods that are established in the semantic web. So linguistic linked open data stored in RDF resource description format approaches. With the idea that the repositories are way easier and way faster to access for software developers than with our own proprietary API that we have obviously also in parallel running. This is what we're currently developing on, and therefore Lukas, or don't know who is clicking, who is doing the slides. Thank you. So just a couple of words or what we are doing very concretely. So there are two main aspects in the whole development work here. The one thing is an intellectual work, and this is already behind us, so we've done this, is namely to think about how to structure TBX-like or Corion-like data in a knowledge graph model. So in knowledge graphs, you store data usually as RDF triples. So this is the established method there. Whereas in terminology databases or in TBX files, you don't see RDF triples, but you see the TBX data structures. So the first thing that we had to do is basically rethink the data model in the sense, in the meaning of the semantic web. This is done, and we've already productized parts of it. And then the next thing, Lukas, please, next. And the next thing is how will this technologically look like? And on this slide here, you can see basically in the gray backgroundish coloring all the existing systems, so the baseline, or what is already part of Corion. So we have a database there, we have a search index, we have a middleware and a browser application to navigate and explore the data. And what we are now doing as part of the European Language Grid pilots is to mirror the Corion data store into an RDF knowledge graph. And we've decided to go for Apache Jena Fuseki, which is the technology to be used, and expose this now as a Sparkle endpoint to query the data exactly with this familiar API, with this familiar syntax that semantic web developers are used to. This is already in beta, so we are pretty progressed on that aspect. And what will happen in the last part of the project, namely next year, is basically to embed this in the proxy or in the hub of the European Language Grid. So far from my side, join my booth in a couple of minutes, and then I can go a bit more into the details and also, if possible, also show you already quite some data. Thank you, Lukas.
Thank you, Michael, very much for your presentation. And with our journey, we can move on from Germany to Spain to El Hoyar Foundation with their project Basque-speaking smart speaker based on Microsoft AI. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, my name is Igor Leturia, and I come from the El Hoyar Foundation. The El Hoyar Foundation, just a short presentation on it, it's a foundation that works in promoting the Basque language in science and technology since 1972. We work in various areas, in popular science, in dictionaries, technical translations, language consultancy, but we also do research and development in language and speech technologies, machine translation, information retrieval and extraction, speech recognition, and text-to-speech also. So the project we are going to work in the ELG context is, next slide, please, is we want to develop a smart speaker which speaks Basque. Well, not commercial smart speakers, they don't, none of them works in Basque. So since we have speech recognition and text-to-speech technology for Basque, we want to, our intention is to develop a smart speaker that understands and speaks in Basque. It will be based on the open source smart speaker Mycroft AI. But apart from speaking Basque, we also want to add some features to it. Well, we want it to be privacy friendly, also to have a gender view, which will be different from the commercial systems. We want to make it non-gendered or gender neutral. And we also want to add to it local skills so that the smart speaker, so that you can tell it to tell you the news, but news in Basque and from the Basque country, Basque music, for shopping in local shops and restaurants, and those sort of things. So the system will be using Eluyar's automatic speech recognition and text-to-speech systems, which we will have to adapt to the domain, prepare it for more noisy environments, grammar-based speech recognition, a better and deep neural network-based TTS, and also, as I said, a neutral voice. And then, the project will also serve to improve the state of the art of Basque speech recognition and text-to-speech systems. Next slide, please. So the current state, I will delve more into this in the poster session later, but just to tell you that we have already connected Mycroft AI software to Eluyar's ASR and TTS systems. As they are now, we have not yet improved those systems or domain adapted them. We have made a basic translation of the core of Mycroft to Basque. We have already translated one skill, the one that answers to what's the time, what date is it to date, and what's the time. And we have also integrated it and tested it in a Raspberry Pi hardware and with a speaker and a microphone. We have also some demo videos that we will be able to see later if you want to. And this is all from my part. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Igor. Thank you very much. Now we move from Spain to Italy to University of Turin to present their Evalita project.
Thank you, Lucas. My name is Viviana Patti, and I'm presenting here the pilot project I'm coordinating, which is Evalita for ELG, an Italian Evalita benchmark linguistic resources and NLP services and tools for the ELG platforms. The project is coordinated by the Computer Science Department of the University of Turin, and together with me, there are members of the Content Center at the Computing Group, Valerio Basile and Cristina Bosco, which were taking part in last years in many of the benchmarking activities for Italian, which are the core of this project. And we have also in the team two new young researchers, Michael Fell and Rossella Barbara, that will work with us in the next months. Together with us, we work. There is a company, Celi, an Italian language technology company, and with Andrea Bolioli and Alessio Bosca, which are working with us. Also because in the context of the Evalita initiative, I'm going to introduce. There is often a quite virtuous relationship between academy and industry, and somehow they represent this kind of good practice that we have in our community. And our project is coached by Khalid Shukri, and I thank him for the advice he's going to give us. We started in September. We can go to the next slide. And basically the main goal was to broaden the ELG portfolio with the resources for Italian that were developed within the Evalita evaluation campaign. Evalita is a biannual event promoted from the Italian Association for for computational linguistics. Is a very important benchmarking activities, and it started more than 10 years ago, and really within this initiative different linguistic resources for Italian were developed with huge variety, starting from a part of speech tagging and dependency parsing resources, tree banks, to the most recent resources developed in order to address popular tasks, to identify, to detect, for example, sentiment or irony in social media, which are very popular nowadays, and also tasks more related to social impacts like hate speech detection. And so the idea was to fully exploit the kind of heritage that we have from the Italian community that is always participating with enthusiasm to this benchmarking periodic activities, in order to have this resource inside the ELG initiative. And we think that this can be, for sure, a kind of support for underrepresented languages in the platform. So it would be an opportunity for the Italian community and also for Europe to have all these Italian resources there. And it will be also important for us to have the possibility to share at a European level all this kind of knowledge and resources, and not only resources. Indeed, the other idea, since inside the Valita we also, participants developed every 2 years also systems, models to address the various tasks I was talking about. It will be important to integrate such systems and to have baselines for the various tasks we will address as a pool of web service with a common interface, which is something that we don't have. And I think that also other evaluation campaigns in Europe miss it. And this will be really important because it will provide also the possibility to have also from new perspectives, also for research. And I think having such kind of resources and baselines and services on the platform can help also research on cross-domain tasks or multitask learning, and of course also the multilingual perspective will be enhanced because of the presence in of this resource inside of a European platform. And for going to the next slides, I will not go too much into the details because we have the project expo, and I hope to see you there. All the team, I think, will be there. So we will be happy to explain more in detail what we want to do. Anyway, from one of the main goals is doing a kind of survey of all the corpora that were published within Evalita in the last more than 10 years, and to restrict the data in order to standardize the format and adhere to the ELG guidelines, which is what we are doing now. And then the other important part will be to take the best models from the Evalita task participants and to enrich the platform in implementing new baselines for this broad variety of tasks. And the main tangible outcomes will be, for sure, to have really a good presence of Italian in the ELG platform in terms of more than 50 resources related to, as I told before, a huge variety of tasks, and also a broader spectrum of linguistic phenomena addressed with respect to what we have now, and also a broader variety in terms of language genres and domains, like social media, for sure, were one of the specific genre that was addressed by many tasks in Emalita in the last years. And the ambition, the final ambition is also to have this kind of multitask benchmark platform for Italian, which is something that we don't have, and it will be important from my point of view to have it in an institutional setting like an European project, and the ELG initiative is for sure the best place to do it. Last, I would like just to mention the reproduction of result, which is something we are aware is important in our community, and we think that also this kind of effort we are doing, we will give some some impact on this respect. So we're waiting all of you at the Project Expo at our poster.
Thank you very much, Viviana. With your presentation, it means that we've got covered 5 projects, and there are still 5 more to go. And now we move to Finland again, this time to University of Helsinki with their project Open Translation Models, Tools and Services.
Yes, hello, my name is Jörg Tiedemann from the University of Helsinki. I would like to briefly just present you about our project Opus MT. If you see here on the slides, or actually the fonts changed a little bit when uploading. Okay, there's the title doesn't fit on the first line. Anyway, what we would like to develop is an extension of the Opus family, open tools and resources for machine translation development. As you can see on the slide, there's quite a lot of different kinds of projects that we have experience with. Everything comes out of the Opus project, a large collection of parallel data sets where we have provided already many resources for people who work in machine translation research and development. And additions to that kind of development of or collection of data resources, we also started to provide tools and models and services for machine translation that can be opened and distributed. We have been working quite a lot with some Nordic languages like Finnish and Swedish, for example, in the Fiskme project, in which we also try to develop ways of integrating those tools and models in proper workflows for translators. Now we would like to extend this initiative for more languages. So Opus MT came out of these different ideas, and we would like to open it up for a large variety of different languages and make it available for anyone. Inside of the ELG project that I'm presenting here is now that we would like to focus on European minority languages, low resource languages, which have, as we know, too little support and need further development in this kind of language technology. So inside of the European framework. So what we would like to do is we would like to focus on certain selected minority languages. At the moment, we focus on Sami languages, but then we would also like to focus on Celtic languages and other minority languages using transfer learning and multilingual models that we can train on the data sets that we have available. In the next slide, you can go to the next slide. We have already quite a lot of available tools and software available from the websites, and I can give you all the links later in the expo, in the poster session. We have web applications that everyone can load up. So there's a Dockerized version that we would like to further develop and then also later integrate in the ELG platform, so that these kind of empty services can easily be started from anyone who's interested in that, and loading models that are pre-trained and available to our services or to the collection of models that we will provide. So there's also the pipeline for training models will be available for anyone, but then especially also the CAT integration, so the computer-aided translation tools that we develop, which make it then very easy to implement a workflow, which then also utilizes those services and models that we provide. You can see some numbers below of pre-trained models that we have already trained. So there's quite a lot of bilingual models, but also multilingual models that we would like to extend, and then especially also further extend to these low resource scenarios and low resource languages. All of this will be available with a very permissive license, so that this makes it easy to use it in research and also commercial development. I think I have another slide. If you go to the next slide, we can see that this will include some kind of API, which can be used programmatically, so that you can have the services being accessed by some programs from the outside, but that there could also be the actual web-based interface that you can use interactively. Then in the middle, you can see some screenshots of something that we can go into more details in the poster session about the CAT integration, so that we have tools in popular frameworks for translators that you can really use the model for your language, specific language pair in your workflow. And the nice thing is that those translation services will run locally, so privacy preserving, nothing is sent to any kind of public service, but instead you have a local service running on your machine. And you can also, we work on fine-tuning those models, so meaning that you can fine-tune with your own data inside of this plugin. Other integration that are similar to the ELG integration is also integration into Hugging Face, a popular library for research and testing and benchmarking. So in the same way, you can also use code from the Hugging Face Transformers library to also work with our models and tools. So more details we can give in the poster session, and I hope you will come and see us and discuss with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jörg. That was exactly 5 minutes. Thank you for that. And now we can move from University of Helsinki to University of Vienna with their project Extracting Terminological Concept Systems from Natural Language Text.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Dagmar Grohmann from the University of Vienna, and I'm happy to present the Text to TCS project to you. This project, we can go to the first slide. Thank you. This project seeks to bring together semantic and terminological technologies in order to provide a language technology that automatically extracts terminological concept systems from multilingual natural language text. Now, a terminology in general is a set of domain-specific concepts, their designations, and their interrelations, such as generic or sequential relations. And there are several approaches that exist to extract terminologies from text. However, usually those approaches only, or those systems only return a list of term candidates without considering synonyms or groups of synonyms or interrelations between those groups of synonyms. So instead, Text to TCS seeks to extract domain-specific terms, but also consider their semantic closeness and detect the interrelations as represented in text. And such interrelations can be hierarchical or also lexicosemantic, non-hierarchical relations. Building terminological concept systems manually is very labor and time intensive. And automating this process seeks to foster terminological consistency in a very fast manner and also at a very low cost. And terminological consistency is very important in any domain-specific communication, such as cross-border crisis communication. And it really helps to avoid misunderstanding. In other words, it secures a common language and provides means for consistent translations between languages for crisis, business communication, or any other kind of domain-specific specialized communication. In order to achieve this very ambitious objective, we will build on approaches and lessons learned from ontology learning, from learning ontologies from natural language text, and also the latest developments of machine learning and deep learning. We have, for instance, recently participated and succeeded in a challenge on automatically detecting interrelations between multilingual words. And one of the languages was actually previously unseen. And we managed to achieve this by building on large pre-trained multilingual language models. We will unite these technologies that we've been using already and also join it with successfully applied approaches in the area of information extraction. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So Text to TCS seeks to take any kind of textual format as input. So you can either input plain text into a graphical user interface, text files or text corpora. And it then goes to the first system component, which is dedicated to recognizing the language of the input text. This is necessary because we need to ensure that our system is able to support the language. While we do seek to be as multilingual, let's say, I don't want to say language independent because that is going to be very hard, but we seek to be as multilingual as possible and support as many European and also non-European languages as possible, but there will for sure be some restriction to this number of languages. And we will then continue to extract terms from the text and the text corpora and group extracted terms based on their semantic closeness. These groups will then be interrelated based on a component that extracts relations from text, but also is able to detect interrelations between terms per se, as we did for the challenge, for the Kogalex challenge, where we participated to do exactly that, detect relations between terms without any context. In the end, we want to build a system that interrelates all the extracted synonym groups hierarchically and non-hierarchically, and then represent the system in two specific formats. The one is the resource description framework, and the other one is the term-based exchange format. We've already met today in the Korean presentation. RDF is the de facto standard for representing language resources as linguistic linked data, which is a format that is very flexible to represent and interchange language data on the web. And the term-based exchange format is the de facto standard and also ISO standard for the translation and terminology community. By supporting both formats, we seek to cater to the needs of these two communities. And we also intend to provide a visualization in both formats so that the terminological concept system can also be graphically explored. Next slide, please. So this is us, and we'd be very happy if you would come talk to us at our Project Expo. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you, Dagmar. It's great to see the pictures of you. Unfortunately, we cannot see you live. Now I would like to invite the University of Turku with their project textual paraphrase dataset for deep language modeling.
Okay, hello everyone. So this is the third time you are visiting Finland today. So this time University of Turku, the Turku NLP group, and our project is about building a paraphrase data set. If I could get the next slide. So paraphrase, as you surely know, is having two statements that have the same contextual meaning, but use a different wording. So here is on the slides is an example of such a paraphrase. When you read the two statements, you will see that they pretty much mean the same thing, but the wording is not too much overlapping. And why we would like to build a database or a data set of paraphrases is because we think that deep language models should be able to model exactly the meaning of the statements regardless of their surface form, and encode mutual paraphrases into similar representations. And so we think that paraphrase is actually a very natural task for natural language understanding types of models and their training and fine-tuning. And there is not too many of sufficiently large paraphrase data sets of this kind, especially of such kind that the paraphrases are very distinct from each other on the surface level. So they look very much different. For this purpose, we decided to do the annotation manually from the beginning to the end. So we have humans that actually identify and pick the candidates, sort of skewing the distribution towards interesting cases which have little lexical overlap, and then they annotate. So there is very little of sort of automation in the process, which we hope will result in a good quality data set. If I can get the next slide. So here is a screenshot of the user interface that we use, or one of the tools that we use for doing the annotation. You will see that here is two statements that have been previously identified by one of the annotators to be a potential candidate for a paraphrase. Then we have a bunch of different labels or classes that we can assign to this paraphrase to classify classify it as a perfect paraphrase or maybe a paraphrase that's only valid in the given context and so on. And then we also give the annotators the option, if they see an easy way to edit these statements to actually produce a perfect paraphrase, then we actually give them the option to do this edit. So this is the kind of interface where the annotators work every day. If I could get the next slide. So the primary outcome of this project will be the dataset itself. So a large Finnish paraphrase dataset, and we also are working on a comparatively small Swedish test set. And in this dataset, there will be, of course, the pairs that are identified in text. There will be their textual context so that the model has something to grab onto. There will be the class and the rewritten version where applicable. And our target is to get 100,000 pairs in Finnish, fully manually annotated and kind of ready for model training, fine-tuning, and testing. The delivery deadline for this dataset is in May 2021, and I hope that we can do it on time. And then we will also have some secondary outcomes of this project, which will be some initial baselines and fine-tuned models, and of course all of the tools that we have developed for this project. And we can of course tell much more and show some of the workflows and tools in the poster session. And on the picture below, you see the way we work nowadays in the current situation. So we have these extensive Zoom meetings, and these are the nice people who work on this data. But welcome to the poster session, then we can explain more. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip, for your presentation. We could see that you have a lot of fun at your meetings. That's what I saw from the picture. We still have 2 more projects to go, and now we will take Weber Consulting from Austria. They will present their virtual personal assistant prototype project. You can go on.
Thank you, Lukas. Hello, my name is Franz Weber. I'm the founder and managing director of Labs.ai, a startup from Vienna. And we have applied a project here, which is called U20. If you can go on with the slides, please. That was not the right one.
I don't think we have slides for you in this deck that I'm showing right now.
Okay.
Just a second.
Can I share by myself?
Yes.
Okay, sorry for that. Bear with me for a second.
Great, thanks, that works. Sorry.
Let me go to full screen. So our project is called U20, your personal virtual assistant. U20 is an acronym for your digital twin. So the vision we have is to develop a digital twin, which you have always with you in your pocket, who can take over tasks for you and who knows you and who is available for you whenever you need it. So what we applied here for the ELG project is to develop a prototype, and the main driver behind, of course, is breaking down language barriers. We have a lot of official languages, much more other languages of people living in the EU, and if we want to have a digital single market, we need to solve the language problem. We have based the project on the technology we have developed in the company, a chatbot development framework, which is open source, which has a natural language processing engine and which is doing the conversation flow. And we apply, of course, highest security standards. We have chosen to have this digital twin running on a mobile device, a normal mobile phone, which you can buy. And our goal is to have it installed there locally, to have the data there, and the data is always with you, and nothing goes out somewhere in the cloud. if we use Siri or Alexa or Google Assistant, nowadays we know that the data is going to the cloud, is shared, is used. We want to go the different way. We want to put the security first. So we will show you in our booth later on how we technically going to do that. Or we have already done it, basically. We can show it already. The use cases we want to show are twofold. One is, of course, how to overcome language barriers. And the second one is how two digital assistants can communicate with each other and do tasks for their owners. So one of the use cases we want to show you is a prototype. In the prototype is called local news in foreign languages. So the concept here behind is you are a foreigner, you are from Finland, you move to Austria, you don't speak the language, you want to know what's going on in Austria, what are the local news reporting. So you can ask your digital assistant, okay, translate me the local news. You will get it translated in your language. You can see it also in the German language, and you can have two things out of this. You can understand in your language what's going on in Austria, what are the news, what are the topics, and second, by reading the German news, you can even improve your German. You can learn the local language. So that's one use case we will present later on. The other use case is about digital twin to digital twin communication. And of course, we will show you how the technology works, the hardware behind, the software we're using, and it's really cool. Sorry, it's cutting edge. We have implemented our application on a Docker container on a normal Android phone. So come and join us and have a look. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Franz. And we will conclude our tour across Europe in Germany again, and we will go to FZI Research Center for Information Technology, and they will present their project, Streaming Language Processing in Manufacturing. You can go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So my name is Dominic. I'm working for the SZI Research Center for Information Technology. So we are an Institute for Applied ICT Research. And I'm happy to present the SLAPman project, which we've started in the European Language Grid. So maybe you can go to the next slide where you can see some of our motivation. So when you think of the manufacturing domain, people often think about sensors and industrial IoT and numerical data and real-time sensor data. But in fact, also there's lots of data sources that are based on text data. So when you think of machine log data, a lot of unstructured text, but also data from service technicians, so problems that are being reported on the current state of production and so on. And so when you think of analyzing production and process quality or product quality in this domain, one common problem is how to enable people who are generally non-technical people. How can you enable these people to conduct flexible data analysis without deep IT skills? And that's kind of our motivation here. And when you go to the next slide to provide you some background from the project, our SLAPman project is based on a toolbox that we've developed for the industrial IoT called Apache Stream Pipes, which is a project to enable non-technical users to connect, explore, and analyze IoT data streams. That's a project we started quite a while ago at FZI and transitioned to the Apache incubator in 2019. So it's a open source project in the IoT space of the Apache Foundation. And you can see a quick glimpse at the project on the right-hand side. So that's one part of the toolbox here, an editor where you can easily combine data streams with an algorithm toolbox to analyze IoT data. So you can basically simply create pipelines based on data streams, data processors, and data sinks, and then you can continuously analyze data streams. So part of the toolbox are industrial data connectors, so that you can quickly connect machines or other assets, but also data sets from machines by a few clicks. And then there's a toolbox of algorithms for self-service data analytics. And finally, you can either forward data to third-party systems or use an interactive live dashboard or some Explorer to also investigate historical data. And so currently we are focused very much on IoT data and sensor data. And one goal of our project is in the ELG open call to develop more algorithms for text-based data analytics, particularly scoped on the manufacturing domain. And when you go on the next slide, please, then you can see some of our project objectives. So the main objective of SLAPman is to investigate the role of industrial text analytics in the manufacturing domain. And there are, let's say, three main parts of our project. So the first one is that we aim to develop various text analytics features or integrate existing ones from the ELG platform into Apache Stream Pipes. And based on that, we would also like to develop new methods to also allow users to train new models for specific machine assets. And finally, we aim to provide a customized Streamlabs version to the ELG platform so that you can easily also use existing text analytics components from the ELG. So taking the first part, developing ELG NLP components for StreamPath. So we have already integrated some modules from the ELG platform, which was a very nice and smooth process to integrate these existing analytics functions, because they are basically all based on a similar API, and you get responses in a very coherent manner. So there are some modules for named entity recognition, sentiment analysis, and machine translation. And we integrated them into Apache Stream Pipes using an SDK we provide to extend the set of available algorithms. And secondly, we are now working on an NLP learning component for Stream Pipes, where you can start with an initial model, and then you get continuous adaptations based on incoming text-based data streams. So that was just a quick summary of our work we are currently doing in SLAPman. On the next slide, you can find also some links. So everything what we are doing in the scope of the project will be open source and integrated in the Apache Stream Pipes tool. You can visit the website here, and I'll be really happy to talk more about which components we are integrating and our approach to using text features in Stream Pipes in the expo thereafter. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Dominic, and actually thank you to all presenters. It was a great tour across Europe. I think that we heard interesting presentations of promising projects that proves that they actually deserved to be selected. And we as a ELG are glad to have them on board. That's it from me. Thank you for your attention, and I hand over to Georg.
Great, thanks very much, Lukáš, and also to the 10 presenters who presented their very exciting projects. They're all very different from one another, and we look forward very much to see the results in ELG finally. So I think some of the meeting rooms are already open. The others will be started in a minute. The Project Expo will start at 12 o'clock officially. If you already find people in the rooms, if the rooms are already open, please go there already now, because why not? I was just told that the link that you can see on the slide is not correct. Could be. The quick workaround is to simply go to the Meta Forum website. We also have a handy shortcut. It's www.metaforum.eu with a dash in the middle between Meta and Forum. And then you can immediately see the Project Expo page, where you will see this, what is shown here on the slide in the left part of the page. So again, you have all the different projects that are presenting now. All the pilot projects plus ELG will also be there. So we have 11 meeting rooms open in a few seconds, and you can take or click the link to the virtual meeting room, and then you boom end up in the meeting room, and then you can listen in, you can ask questions, you can engage with the colleagues, etc., etc. So, and this is then also our last session for today. That's the Project Expo session, which will run until 1:30. So it's a 90-minute session. Again, this is an experiment. I hope it works out. We've never done this before. We never had a pandemic of this proportion. So we have to experiment. I hope it works out. And again, as I mentioned, please don't everybody go to the E3C project, which is the first one. Yeah, spread out a little, yeah, so that we have a good distribution of participants in the different booths, and then you can jump around to the other ones you're interested in. Okay, thanks very much. I will be in the ELG room in a few seconds, and I hope you will be with us tomorrow at 9 o'clock on day 2 of Meta Forum. And I hope you enjoyed the morning sessions so far. I hope you enjoy the Project Expo and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow or later on in the ELG booth. Thank you very much.